Alright, with Rioichi busted, now it's time to formulate a plan.
After rescuing Rioichi, we returned to the hideout. Unfortunately,
And we also learn a bit more about
family
our
reunions.
local
We
villain,
needed to figure
since
out what
it
was
clearly
going on
doesn't look like he's from the time
Rioichi
place.
confirmed that the source of the trouble was the tiger we had tracked in the village. Someone
There we
calling
go,
himself
Jefe.
Jefe. After some more database digging, Bentley was able to uncover his Interpol file.
Apparently, this guy is like...
Over the years, he had
It's
taken over
very
dozens of small
interesting
countries
as a
around the
guy
globe.
because he managed to have a
Usually, for the
PMC
highest
that,
bidder.
you know, dethroned a lot of micro
He
countries.
was a ruthless mercenary and military strategist of the highest order. In fact, he once boasted that he could overthrow a country commanding only 3 blind
Wow,
men.
he's so evil that he can
Used
even
3
cause-
blind mice to detonate a bomb.
Not just that, Theo. Even the writing on his chalkboard is afraid of him.
So of course he escaped,
We had
not
found him,
just
and we
anywhere,
needed
but he
to take
escaped
him
in
down.
The
time.
very air
Time.
he breathes is
It
scared
looked
of
like
him.
we were in for a tough
And again,
battle.
this guy
we
is
decided to
even
start
researched by
Rioichi's
Interpol, so it's not,
succession.
again, it's serious business too. So, first course of action is gonna be having to recover, if I recall correctly, Rioichi's restaurant.
Yeah, we tried calling Chun-Li, but she was unavailable.
She doesn't exist yet.
You.
No, but this game came out in 2013. She definitely existed.
In this time.
And before we left.
No. She does not exist in this time date. Also,
One of
Dweebs.
our ancestors.
What do you mean?
Also, Dweebs, she's off busy helping the Power Rangers at this moment.
Also, one thing that you notice is that every time you use the binocicom, everything dips at 30 FPS.
Good in armor.
Yeah.
Like, I get it because it makes the dialogue a bit more, you know, fluid in the binocicom itself, but it's a bit jarring, I notice. And yes, LFA is voiced by Nolan North, because why not?
Now, my thing with the overall villains in this game is essentially this. They're not all bad, but the villains as a whole do not feel as memorable as, well, any other game's set of villains. They're fine.
Have we seen this guy before? Hey boss, have we seen this guy before?
It's the armor, it's a symbol status. There we go. Now, instead, we are about to see a piece of it was done, that was actually showcased in a couple of presentations of the game, the actual mission of Rioichi having to take his restaurant. And yes, in each time period where you find, you will be able to actually control the ancestor of that particular time era. They function kind of like Sly, at least on a basic level, but each of them has a unique technique that Sly normally cannot use, which, you know, allows to spice up how the levels work. Specifically, Yoichi can actually just jump from one ninja spire place to another.
So, yeah, this does bring us to a caveat here. On the one hand, getting to play as all the different family members of the Sly Cooper family lineage, pretty cool idea on paper. Some people are split with the execution, because, for the most part, these guys essentially play exactly like Sly, just with, you know, one extra thing. To the point where some people would argue, well, you could have just given Sly a power-up and bang, that would have pretty much have gotten the same result. Not only that, this is pretty much a replacement for having, you know, the multiple playable characters from previous games as well. As for me personally, some are more interesting to play than others, like a particular one who is in the time date that we will get to after this one.
Yeah, the Chapter 2 Ancestor.
Oh yeah, I think that one is my favorite and might possibly be the most...
Others like Chapter 3's Ancestor instead, yeah, I have to agree, are a bit more lackluster. But honestly, on a whole, I'm actually perfectly fine with this kind of execution.
I'm personally fine with this being the idea, but, you know, I do wish that they could have maybe have done more with them, and like in other cases, just have done better.
I think it's overall fine, but yeah, I personally would have preferred the continuation of what the third game was doing.
And yes, every time you actually concentrate on doing one of the Ninja Spire jumps, your controllers actually vibrates like crazy. Go on, sorry.
I think the best way to describe this game is that it has good ideas, but it doesn't reach the full zenith with its potential. and that's at its best, honestly.
It's one of those things where I don't think Sanzaro was really up to the task of making a proper successor to the original trilogy, because even at this is their best game, and that says a lot. Sanzaro is just a very mediocre developer in general. Like if you take a look at their resume and what they've done, and yes, they made the 3DS Boom games. Like even Fire and Ice, for example, which is just okay. It's a game that's just like the pinnacle of adequacy. Like it's not good, it's not bad, it's just there. It's again, it's literally just there. Like these guys have never really made anything that really showed us that they're capable of something more than that. Not really.
Okay, to be fair to Fire and Ice, I actually do find that a legit good game, but it's by no means amazing. That said though, I do get where you're coming from with Sanzaro. Which is a bit of a shame though, because you'd think that after, you know, doing what they did with the remastered trilogy, that they would have had some better notes to take from for this game. I mean, granted, it's not like they had to do a whole remake project like Vicarious Visions did with Crash, but still, though, like, well, you'd think that they would have taken more notes from this, but it feels like they didn't. Like, I think the best way to describe my overall feeling with this game, it does not feel truly connected with the franchise as a whole. Like, if this were, like, say, attached to a series that made more sense, it would be fine, but otherwise, this literally feels like if Final Fantasy VIII was supposed to be a direct same universe sequel as Final Fantasy VII, instead of, you know, doing Final Fantasy's usual thing of, well, different games, stories, and universes and all that. Like, this is what I think it would feel like if 8 was supposed to be, like, in the same universe and same gameplay as 7. It just would not feel like it fit that well.
For me, there's another thing that I wanted to address that Jova said in the previous part, but I wasn't able to. Honestly, Jova, when it comes to the whole thing that you said the last part about, oh, you think that maybe somebody in the team has something against the previous 3 games, remember, Jova, never attribute to malice what can be easily attributed to stupidity.
Oh, no, again, I genuinely believe Sanzaro, you know, actually had the good faith, and actually believed to have made a good product. The only thing that I question, again, is their them veering some of you more to a more sexualized type of it, which is something that Sucker Punch had tried to restrain at the very least.
That's why I said.
It's not like we were completely immune to that, but they were not on the level that this game will have. And trust me, we haven't even seen that happen.
That's what I was saying. Like I attribute this to stupidity, not malice.
I attributed most of it to stupidity, again, except for some of those points where it feels like very, very dumb reasons to try and get stuff back to the status quo. And again, that one twist that,
nobody likes it, Jova, not even me.
Like, seriously, okay. Even people who are fans of this game, I have yet to find a single person who likes that twist. And for a lot of people, that twist alone ruins the game for them.
It's mostly because, again, remember, this is a character action platformer type game. Like, so the characters are a big focus of it. It's supposed to be about charismatic cartoon characters, you know, something. All those characters that, you know, like Sonic, Mario, Ratchet, all those characters, that kind of aesthetic. So the characters are a big deal when it comes to these games.
This actually brings me back to what Tio was saying earlier about how, well, this game did not have a lot of favors with it being, you know, like, well, a swan song game of the generation. Like, again, which really just begs the question, why did they make all these changes? Like, they should have known better. Like, okay, guys, you already are going to have your work cut out for you with the fact that this is a swan song generation game. Maybe don't mess with the characters too much. Like, try your best to appeal to the fans or something.
And remember, a couple of things actually got changed after fan feedback, not just Sly's, you know, fur color.
Mm-hmm.
But more on that for stuff like Chapter 4.
Oh no!
There we go. Somehow restoring the electricity to the restaurant, you know, makes it back our property of Rioichi, whatever. Now it's time to get some fishes for Rioichi to do.
This is no vacation, Murray. We need to help Rioichi get
I
back
do
on
feel
track
like,
as a
unfortunately,
sushi
with
chef.
Murray, they kind of
What he
Patrick
needs most
starred
right
him a
now
bit in this
is fish.
game.
We're here because these caves are
It's
his
not
secret
the
spot
worst
for
case of it,
catching the
but
best fish.
They actually do give him a sort of an arc, but it does. But I actually agree with Jova a bit. It does feel like he has been reverted a bit to Sly 2's characterization.
that
Like
is
again, ignoring what happened in 3.
that's my main problem with returning characters in this game. Like, well, they're either the game either acts like it forgets that they went
Oh,
through
okay, I
certain
need to
arcs so
talk
that it
about
can
this.
repeat them, or yeah, does dumps them down.
Now, new minigame type, a side-scrolling shooter from left to right in the same vein of Gradius, with Bentley having a Rambo-style avatar, because apparently the previous game did not taught him anything about, tempering expectation on people who see him on the internet. And to be fair, Peter McCullen actually does a great remix, because this is actually the hacking theme from the very first game, the one that we barely heard, because there was only one hacking mission at the tail end of the game. So they actually brought that back.
Ow.
Here's how it works. Collect all the mini stars to actually power up the rate of fire. Defeat all the goo, but it's like corrupted data that is blocking. Sometimes you can use a power bomb. The moment you get hit, similar to like stuff like Cave Story, your weapon actually quality gets decreased by 1 point. So the best course of action is, of course, to try to get hit, as much as you can. Try to not get hit as much as you can, and collect as much, mini power up as you we come across. There we go. Again, okay, not all of them, because there's gonna be one later, but most of the hacking minigames are actually pretty fine. Even better when in the previous games, because they actually do provide more variety.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I'm going to say is definitely through and through does feel like an overall improvement and more fun, it is the hacking games, which I guess explains why they made a whole DLC game based around them.
Not just that, I also get the idea this was one of the inspiration from all the side activities that you're forced to do in Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal.
That would explain a lot, actually.
Like Tails submarine levels.
I wonder, do we have like more documentary stuff, footage, or intel on what exactly was Sanzaru's thought process with this game to you?
I mean, like, what do you even want to know?
Well, there's a lot to ask. What happened in all the development time? What was their thought mentality with some of the decisions they made? And also,
okay, I cannot answer you on a complete level, but again, they had a specific vision, but they did wanted to do some things that actually differentiated even more from the previous 3 games. It was only when they received fan feedback when they decided to actually, backtrack on a couple of those.
I will say this
There
game
we go.
definitely does feel like it's trying to be its
Now
own
it's time for
thing.
Murray to actually do the fishing. No, it's not even that. It was still meant as a sequel, but for some reason they were not going to have a complete utter approach when it comes to, continuity aside from a basic level. Which it is actually baffling a bit.
I suppose you could elaborate more after this cutscene.
We need to find the secret fishing
No,
hole.
again, for that I don't know that much.
Over there.
Oh. Well, you mentioned that apparently things were going to be a lot more
Well,
different.
okay,
That
like I
suggested
said,
that you might know more.
mostly for something that happens in Chapter 4, so...
Okay then.
So I will have only to talk about that. It's not really necessarily tied to the twist, but it's still something that ties to Chapter 4.
So
Anyway,
tell me. Is it a change that arguably made Chapter 4 better, or would have made it
Potentially
worse?
worse. Potentially worse.
Give you a nasty shot.
Okay then.
Lucky for us, that large plant is a giant lamp leaf.
Of course it
Will
is.
make it
Classic type of puzzle design. Hit the glowing stick kind of target, which will attract away the actual hazard. Shit. Thankfully, we're not one in kill bugs.
How do you like the rewind thing in this game? You know, as like.
Look, it's not really that intrusive, but it does feel odd compared to the previous just cut to black. You know,
It almost
stuff that
feels like
happened
an edit
previously.
when you watch it as somebody.
Yeah,
who-
I
I
get
know,
what the
right?
idea is. It's like you're being watched by a camera done by Bentley, and you're failing up. It's like, oh no, this was the wrong footage. Rewind that. It just feel it clearly doesn't have much of a in-game justification. It's just seemed to be there just because, but it's not really that breaking of a thing for me.
Oh, don't get me wrong. On the one hand, gameplay-wise, it does save a lot of the tedium from dying from, well, a hit that can happen from, well, not good draw distance or whatnot, so fair enough. But I do agree with you that they could have done a better job of maybe including a bit of an in-game explanation for why it does
I
that.
mean, to be fair, most games do not actually give in-game explanation to even basic stuff like double jumps. So again, at worst, I can just chug it up to a stylistic choice.
Oh, well, double jumps are just more of an inherent thing that you kind of come to expect from games like, but outright
Okay,
rewinding footage.
now you have to use the 6 axis.
Yeah, okay, I'm not
Move
gonna.
the magnet towards a particular type of fish and try to stay on top of it, in order to magnetize it. As you can see, however, because the 6 axis is a pain in the ass to control, the thing it gets to be a bit more tedious. Thankfully. Oh, and now you have a time limit, dipshit.
Well, God, with the 6-axis control of all
Get
things.
it, 8 fishes in 90 seconds.
Like, okay. Now, I know this goes without saying, but the 6-axis does not do this game any favors. Like,
This is
Sly's
clearly
Big
also
Fishing Adventure 3.
This is clearly a minigame that could have been easily done just by having the motion being done to the left analog stick. There was literally no need to use the 6 axis, and it was literally just shoehorned in to promote the gimmick.
Hey,
Much like all those games on Nintendo DS that force in the touchpad on the Wii that has motion controls. And mind you, if it was still on the launcher release, I get it. But this was again near the tail end of the PS3. At this point, everyone and their mother did not like the 6 axis.
I know. I was actually about to say, like, we were talking about feedback. How did the feedback to, take out the 6 axis not resonate with them?
I get easily the idea, Jova, that the 6 axis might have been an editorial mandate from Sony. Because again, you see that these kind of sections where you have to use the 6 axis, all of them can be easily just completed potentially if you just remapped it to the left analog stick.
Yeah.
And as we know, when it comes to stuff that could promote the 6 axis, Sony has always been a bit forceful in asking companies to how to do that.
I will never forget Lair, and Sony had the goal to send anyone who had anything bad to say about that game a guide on how to play it, as if it was their
Not just
fault.
that. Not just that.
This game?
No, Layer.
Not Layer.
If you don't remember,
Layer,
Pedro,
okay.
yeah, the one that showcased at E3 2006, the Dragon Fighting, and the more baffling thing is that they actually did release a patch that actually implemented proper controls. You could switch if you wanted, but it was too little, too late.
It's a shame too, considering the DualSense finally nailed this technology.
I swear. Video games involving dragons that aren't called Dragon Quest tend to have very bad luck in the game industry. Layers, Scalebound, like that.
Especially considering how the only game that really made excellent use of the 6 axis on the PS3 was Flower by that game company, the creators of Journey. Aside from that, I don't know any other games.
Also, I actually missed a mask, but I can actually revisit this kind of mission at any point if I want. One cool thing about this game is actually you can actually revisit all missions. Sorry, so if you miss a collectible that is in one of them, you can actually backtrack at any point. Oh, it's this one. Okay, Shira, you might want to pay extra attention to this mission.
Vacation, and El Jefe doesn't know it yet. The bad news is, it looks like the Geisha House is locked up tight. There's no way to get in from the street. If only you could get to the roof.
For a ninja, there is always a way.
What is Sly doing around this point?
Talk to you inside.
He's just sitting on the bench.
Like,
Again, this mission is mostly tied to Rioichi, so just leave him to do that.
I do get that he probably knows
Still
the lay of the
there.
land better. Yes, we see you too, Clockwork, but...
Again,
I'll
since
do
it's
nothing
only...
with you, apparently.
Since he only appears in a couple of selected missions, I wanted to be cheeky and just, showcase all the times he appears.
Again, I'll just say it, missed opportunity with him, but anyway,
Okay,
here's another...
I actually did reflect on what you said, Jove, and honestly, I kind of thinking on the polar opposite way. I'm actually glad they did not rely on just bringing back Clockwork, in a cheap way. Considering how this game kind of ends, I get the idea they wanted to play the long game, but that in itself is a double-edged sword that has been time and time again condemned things more than being successful.
Oh, I definitely get not wanting to just rely on cheap nostalgia, but again, it's a time travel story. Like, almost everyone and their mother was predicting, another fight with Clockwork. Again, the villain who has been the antagonist to the Sly Cooper family lineage across all
I might
time.
as well just say now. No, one thing they did not take advantage either, which is the thing they set up with me. We never used the time travel mechanic to actually check back on Sly's father and what potentially was his relationship with Dr. M.
Which is baffling because Sly's father does still factor into the plot of this game, but in a
he does
completely
actually.
different way.
I do not see how Murray-san will fit into that outfit.
Yes, Shiri, apparently the plan is to have Murray dress up in a geisha outfit.
Sure, why not?
You'll see how the execution pans out. The reception has been actually interesting on this front. But again, only due time. This mission is not too long then, anyway.
But yeah, I think I find it weird that, we don't have more Sly teaming up with his relatives alongside the time you play as them. Like, it's
You
weird
do
that
it more as the game goes on, but to be fair, Rioichi is a ninja, so it's more of a, loner kind of way, classic stereotypes and all. But it's starting already from Chapter 2, you get to have some team-ups, so there is that.
Which is your favorite of the ancestors?
These ancestors? Okay. I like the same one that you do in Chapter 2, but I gotta be, Weeaboo and all, so I kinda like Rioichi just a bit more. Though, honestly, I kinda like all of them as a whole. There's just a matter of which one is my least favorite, which is the one of Chapter 3.
Yeah, I think that's a lot
I don't
of
think
people's least favorite.
I don't think it's completely bad, but it's one of those occasions that we mentioned about Sanzor wanted to do their own thing and not paying too much attention to the continuity. To be fair, they still managed to make it work, but again, all in due, ironic enough, time.
My least favorite is, again, saying what time frame it is may give away it a bit.
Well, just the name of the chapter. Like, we're 5 in total plus the ending. Also, like
I
a
wonder how
moron,
many unintentional time jokes are going to be making in this place.
Also, like a moron, I completely missed that the mascot was right there. Thankfully, again, I get it off screen.
Oops.
It happens.
See?
It happens to all. Also, a thing that I didn't mention, both in the overworld and in the other side missions, you get also these small non-anthropomorphic animals roaming around, like in this case the frogs. You can actually kill them, but you don't really gain much. Sometimes maybe like 1 or 2 coins, but that's pretty much it. And the game even subtly tells you that it's not really the greatest thing to do, because every time they die, they disappear in like a red glowing aura. So, but again, other than that, the game does nothing to, like, say, punish you or having Bentley say, "Don't do that,"
Yeah.
Shit. There we go. For this mission similar to this, we'll have Sly or one of the ancestors actually reaching one of these tanks, which have marked an interesting symbol, and have them place a beacon that Bentley will use to infiltrate and hack. And if I recall correctly, Yes, there it is. The third mini game uses the 6 axis, and this one is a pain in the ass.
You will love the 6 axis
Look at the
whether you
movement.
want
Just
to
look
or
at the
not.
movements of the. Just look at the movement of the controller. That says a lot. How much struggle I'm having and how much panic I can get. And mind
It's like
you,
it's 2013 that we're still trying this.
and mind you, these particular tracks involve places that have no guards or the borders, so meaning that you can follow the stage and start entirely, and bumpers. A lot of times paired together.
You know, it takes a
They
truly...
just say that I cut a lot of death and raging.
You see, Tio, it takes a truly cruel computer programmer to put in a system that can only be hacked with 6 axis. Like, it's bound to make a lot of would-be hackers eventually tear out their hair
And
in
again,
frustration.
you also have a time. Oh fuck! You also have a time limit in all of this. The other hacking minigames do not have that. Why does we one have to? Why do I have to panic even more when I need to?
Yeah, okay. I know it's low-hanging fruit, but 6 axis is definitely a contributor to why a lot of people consider this the weakest of the Sly Cooper games. Like, you can argue how much it affects the game, but the very presence and required use of it alone is already going to be quite a thing.
Also, put the seizure warning, I guess. Like, Jesus.
So, yeah, that was there, and it sucked, but it's over now.
Sadly, there's gonna be a lot more of these, so rejoice. But for the time being, all that's left to do is to get the costume. Rioichi, there we go, moving on.
But yeah, I think my least favorite ancestor might also be the one of Chapter 3. Curious to you, is it for the character, the gameplay, or both?
The character. The gameplay is fine, actually. The things that you get to do as the actual character are actually fine. Oh boy, here we go.
Murray-san, please be careful. That cable looks rather delicate.
Have no fear, the Murray is here.
Yeah.
Come on, the original series was above that kind of humor.
It looks like we're going to have to try out your disguise a bit early.
Okay, let's see how this works.
Remember the routine we rehearsed?
You there! What's going on? Explain yourself!
Durr.
Konnichiwa! I am the most famous Madam Geisha. Please allow me to entertain you.
Oh,
This is,
ladies and gentlemen, the anti-boner.
And now, a traditional karaoke-esque minigame, which reflects in a rhythm-type game QT. Where basically Murray has to entertain the guards who do nothing more than basically tax savoring all over. There you go. It's actually fairly easy as an actual rhythm minigame. Also, one thing that I guess it's also a small improvement over previous games. Every time something peculiar goes on in a particular level or you're controlling different characters, the health bar icon actually does change accordingly, which, again, it's a nice touch. If you perform well enough, you'll also get bonus monies. Again, this minigame clearly reflects those particular type of karaoke-style arcade cabinets that you see at cons too.
I didn't need to see that.
And to be fair, Peter McConnell's type of music to reflect this is also appropriate too. Again, as a combination gameplay-wise, it just works, but what do you think, Shirai?
Pretty much, put more cross-dressing in video games, you cowards.
Not just that, I can tell you this. They do not, despite doing the whole tax savory thing of, ogling despite, because of mistaken for a woman, ha ha ha. the Murray actually enjoys this kind of thing, which
Oh,
apparently.
clearly.
Not just that, even afterward, he will wear the costume for the rest of the chapter, mind you. And
Good for him.
this is also a sort of homage to an original concept. Apparently, World of Sucker Punch themselves, they did wanted to put some kind of subtext that showcased that Murray is actually gay as a character, but never implemented it. I don't know for what specific reason. I guess there wasn't really a plot point where to actually, talk about it.
Oh well.
So at least, give. The problem with with Sanzaro is that sure, this minigame works fine for what it wants to do, and it is on a gameplay. Let's just say that this is not the only one of this kind of category. There's one in Chapter 5, and it's quite something else, actually.
Okay. I know that Chapter 4 has that one twist that everyone hates, but if there is another bit that a lot of people hate, it is, ironically enough, that bit in Chapter 5. Even though you can definitely tell Sanzaro we're going for the opposite reaction with that.
Mm-hmm.
That said, though, you know what? Good for you, Murray. If you feel cute and pretty, rock it.
If Cloud can feel pretty, so can Murray.
Yes.
Some people.
And it's pretty much clear that the people who worked in this game also did their job, because again, the guards' reaction are straight up Tex Avery type of reaction shots. So it's not like they did not knew the sort of materials of which the series takes inspiration from.
All right.
Anyway, sorry, Jova.
We'll see you for the next part then.
In the next part, we actually do end up confronting El Jefe and dismantling his operation. So see you for that.
See ya.
See ya.